All right, shalom to the hopeful elect, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahushai, Barakatah Yahweh, Ba'ashim Yahushai, Ba'ashim Rakakwadash, double honor. As always, them Yah to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone, who are the true teachers of Israel today. Peace, love, blessings, and salutations to the hopeful elect. Habayath, Mandawadah, the house of David, the brothers laboring on the four corners of the earth, day in and day out, giving all diligence to make their calling of election sure, helping seal the elect of the nation of Israel for the return of our Lord, Yahweh Shem Yahushai, and the son of Yahushai, the son of the Most High, whose name is Yahushai, Salakia, is on the way. So, peace, love, blessings, and salutations to the hopeful elect. Habayath Madawadah, the house of David, the brothers is laboring, keep laboring, and to the Akim and Akwath, the brothers and the sisters who also listen and believe on the glorious gospel of Yahweh Shem Yahushai and the truth that's being spread on the four corners of the earth. To you I say shalom. So shalom to the believers, shalom to the Bakarim, which in the Hebrew is the elect, the hopeful elect, as we call ourselves, right? Those that are fighting the good fight of faith each and every day. So to you brothers, you Akim and Akwafim, you know, who are doing this work, which is being a servant and minister to Yahweh Shem Yahushai in whatever capacity. The Lord has you, and shalom to you and Barakim from Yah. Blessings always, and to your houses. So may the Most High continue to keep the believers. We're going to jump into it. You see the title of the lesson is going into the beast system, which is prophecy. United but soon divided. United but soon divided. Now, all this stuff that's going on in Ukraine is been, showing forth a strong front, united front with the America, the whore, Babylon the Great, and the beast system, which is NATO and the EU, and that system of governance, right? Along with the UN, that system of governance that is dominating the world, which is the rule of the Edomites over the earth, the preeminence of the wicked. So I'm gonna play this video, and I got an article, and it's gonna be a quick meal, but Lord willing, is edifying to the believers.
1 month after the war began, at least a week after Russia thought it would have declared victory, and Ukraine scores one of the biggest successes of the war. A Russian naval landing ship hit and destroyed in the occupied harbor of Berdyansk. 2 others that lay alongside, damaged and forced to flee.
Good morning, Mr. President.
For NATO leaders at an emergency summit in Brussels today, this is heartening news, as are reports that Ukraine may be pushing the Russians back around Kiev. But if they thought that meant the pressure would be off to send more help, they were quite wrong.
І ми світлі люди.
In an address to the summit, Ukraine's President Zelensky wants much more, specifically tanks and aircraft.
Ми звертались по танки, щоб ми могли...
We're asking for tanks, he told them. You have at least 20,000 tanks. Ukraine is asking for 1%. 1% of all your tanks. Give them to us or sell them to us. There's no sign that will happen, nor that NATO will confront Russia directly. But 4 new NATO battle groups are now to be sent to reinforce the alliance's southeastern borders, while the UK will send 6,000 more defensive missiles, plus an extra £25 million in aid. Boris Johnson has led the way on military help and for his pains been labelled Russia's enemy number 1 by Moscow. But amongst Western leaders, he at times seemed to cut an isolated figure today. And unlike President Biden, he hasn't been invited to the EU discussion tonight on tightening oil and gas sanctions. Is Europe doing enough? Are the Germans doing enough? What will Britain do to help other countries who rely more on Russian oil and gas to wean themselves off it?
Look, and I just want to say that this is easier for some countries than it is for others. I think it's heroic, and I applaud what Germany is doing. They've set themselves deadlines to move away from oil and gas. I don't think it'll be easy, and the Italians are doing the same. I don't think it'll be easy for them, but it's the right thing to do in the long term, in the medium term, and we will help, of course.
President Biden spoke of an alliance that was confounding everyone, not least Moscow, with the unity it is showing.
Putin was banking on NATO being split. My early conversation with him in December and early January was clear to me he didn't think we could sustain this cohesion. NATO has never been more united than it is today.
But while the alliance has been shocked back into relevance and purpose, there remains
To me, he didn't think we could sustain this cohesion. NATO has never been more united than it is today.
But while the alliance has been shocked back in
January, it was clear to me he didn't think we could sustain this cohesion. NATO has never been more united than it is today.
But while the alliance has been shocked back into relevance and purpose, there remains a determination not to be dragged into this conflict, at least not unless Putin resorts to chemical or nuclear weapons, in which case all bets could be off.
So there you have it. We have all the pieces of the puzzle coming together, all through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Yahushai, which is prophecy. Prophecy. So prophecy is coming to pass. Let me get that through the spirit. Got a quick precept. Just popped up. 2nd Ezra 15. What we're witnessing is prophecy. So the angels of the Lord are holding back the destruction when you read in Revelation, the 7th chapter. So we're going to speak on a little prophecy and move in the spirit. So knowing that the angels are holding back the destruction, NATO feeling like they're the closest that they've ever been. They are the most secure that they've ever been, right? They are the most united, as Biden said, as they've ever been. According to the word, is going to be the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, NATO, the EU, right, and its affiliates, the UN, et cetera, that's going to do what? It's going to turn on the beast system. It's going to turn on the whore, which rides the beast system. Babylon the Great, which is controlling, the beast system, which is a system of governance. So the beast, headed by America and the European Union, the UN, is a part, of that in ways as well. But NATO, right? All of these entities make up the beast system, which Babylon the Great is the one that controls the beast system. So prophecy says what's going to happen at the beast is going to turn on the whore and burn her with fire, which we'll get that here in a second. 2nd Ezra chapter 15, 2nd Ezra chapter 15 started verse 1, and it reads, "Behold, speak thou in the ears of my people, which are the Israelites, the words of prophecy, which I will put in thy mouth, saith the Lord, and cause them to be written in paper, for they are faithful and true." These words, are faithful and true, because the Lord said that his words will not come back unto him void. And the Most High is not a man that he should lie. So the words of Yahweh Shem Yahushai are faithful and true, meaning they will come to pass. All the things that's written in the Holy Scriptures have happened or are happening now. And then we have a handful of end time prophecies left before the destruction and deliverance. Now, the Lord said to speak in the ears of his people, and his people are the Israelites, the words of prophecy. So what we're seeing, the brothers on the four corners of the earth is giving you this truth, is that prophecy is pouring out. Now let's get another example of prophecy. What we just saw, what we witnessed in the video is prophecy. And in this article I'm about to bring are the words of prophecy. So prophecy is speaking loud and clear, which prophecy means to speak before. The words that were spoken before time were written for our learning, as it says in Romans 15:4. And the words of prophecy are the words of the Most High, directly out of the mouth, of the highest power, which the highest power is Yahweh, and his son name is Yahushai, right? The Son of the Most High and the Most High. Jeremiah 28:7. And it reads, "Nevertheless, hear thou now this word that I speak in thine ears and in the ears of all the people." So through the unicorn, through the internet, when you read Psalm the 19th chapter, Sirach, the end of Sirach, the 24th chapter, it tells you how this word would go out, and it would go out by way of the internet, right? So this word is being spoken in the ears and in the ears of all the people on the earth, the heathen, the children of the wicked, which are the Edomites, the other nations, the heathen nations, and the Israelites, right? The righteous people, even 2/3 who will not hearken. is still going out. This truth is going out and it's shining on the four corners of the earth, right? Verse 8, Jeremiah 28:8, the prophets that have been before me and before thee of old prophesied both against many countries and against great kingdoms of war and of evil and of pestilence. So war, evil, and pestilence is what's coming to this earth, right? War, evil, and pestilence, which is all prophecy in the Holy Scriptures. So once again, these words are being spoken by the men of the Lord day in and day out. So let's further get into that. So here goes another article going into prophecy. Now, this is dated March the 24th, 2022. As you see the title here, it says, Biden tells NATO, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, which is a part of that beast system, right? That system of governance is ruling the earth, allies in Brussels to stay unified as he backs booting Russia from the G20. And it's going to explain when we read a little bit what the G20 is, right? These are the great economic countries of the world that are intertwined in business and commerce and capitalism, which is why the scriptures say that they will hate the beast, or Salakia, that all nations were drunk from the wine of Babylon, right? So Babylon controls, the world's economies, but it's intertwined with other economies. Like the second biggest economy in the world is China. And then you have other great nations that's a part of this G20, which is a summit that goes out yearly, which is the meeting of the greatest economic countries on the earth. And they discuss what? Business, commerce, capitalism, trade, right? That's why the earth is drunk with the wine of Babylon. So now let's further show that as we continue on. This is in this article, it says President Joe Biden marked 1 month since the war began in Ukraine by hitting Russia with more economic sanctions Thursday and backing its expulsion from the group of 20 world leaders. So these are of the top nations on the earth. Biden is pushing to do away with Russia. So what do you think that's going to do to the Russian people? What do you think that's going to do to Putin and the head of his government, right? That's going to infuriate the Russians, the Medes in the scriptures, which is prophecy, the land of Gog and Magog. Now, Babylon is pushing to do away with Russia in the G20. Continuing on, it says a move that will further isolate the Kremlin, which that's the name of the Russian government, and restrict its role in the global economy. So that's going to cut Russia off from the global economy, which they're already putting such crippling sanctions on Russia that is destroying the economy. The ruble, which is the Russian form of currency, is worth less than nothing pretty much now, right? Biden said at a news conference in Brussels that he supports calls to boot Russia from the G20, which is made up of the leaders from the world's major economies. He noted that the final decision rests with the group's membership. There's going to be a vote on whether to take Russia out. And Babylon pushes that energy. Most likely, a lot of these nations are going to support it. The single most important thing is for us to stay unified, right? It says, Biden said after a trio of summits in which European allies asserted they would help Ukraine and punish Russia for as long as it takes. So now you're seeing that support, that drumbeat of support, continuing to push that energy, right? Now, it goes on to say Russian President Vladimir Putin, Biden said, can take anything thrown at him for another month, so the alliance must not crack. Biden said that's why he asked for an emergency meeting of NATO Thursday, which was followed by a meeting with the leaders of the other G7 countries and another with the all 27 leaders of European Union countries. Transatlantic solidarity remains vital, NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg tweeted. Here are highlights from the first day of Biden's 4-day trip to Europe, which he ended up in Warsaw and gave a big speech just recently, right, which is in Poland. More sanctions against Russia, so he's pushing more sanctions. Let's see what else we can get out of here. There goes another piece to the puzzle. Now here, It says the United Nations announced a new round of sanctions targeting the defense companies, the head of Russia's largest bank, and more than 300 members of the Russian State Duma, right? So they're targeting banks, all, forms of the Russian economy to completely destroy Russia, which is going to further perpetuate war with Russia, with the Medes, which is prophecy, right? The Lord is putting the hooks back in the jaws of the Medes. When you read in Ezekiel the 38th chapter. Now it continues on and says, war criminal. As Biden gets personal with Putin, U.S. and Russia relations hit a dangerous crisis. And these are a lot of the Ukrainian people, right? Who have been displaced. I think it's over 4 million people that's been estimated, to have been displaced, which is about 10% so far, 10 to 15% of the people in their country. It says more humanitarian assistance. The United States will accept 100,000 Ukrainian refugees and others fleeing Russia's invasion, and provide more than $1 billion in humanitarian assistance, the administration announced. The funding will pay for food, shelter, clean water, medical supplies, and other forms of assistance. So now you got the nations coming together, right? And we heard in the videos, Zelensky is asking for 1% military solution, 1% of planes, 1% of all the resources to allow them to continue to fight the Russians, right? And then there's a warning from Biden, from America, from Babylon, not to use chemical weapons, right? Which that's been in the news recently, that's being that is actually being thought to be used as a weapon in war, right? All bets are off. It's war. So now it goes on to say, Biden said the United States and NATO allies will respond if Russia uses chemical weapons. The nature of the responses depend on the nature of the use, he said. Biden would not expand on whether the United States has gathered specific intelligence that show if Putin is using chemical weapons. It's believed, through the intelligence community, that Putin is looking to use. That's the president of Ukraine, Zelensky. Now, they're also calling out China. So now what is this doing? Russia and China, two of the world's greatest nations, economically and militarily, right, have joined an alliance. Also, just recently in the last week, you've also had India, who's joined on with them, and probably soon Pakistan and the other nations that's in the region, right? Which is in Jeremiah the 51st chapter, the nations gathering against Babylon round about her. Now, so China's been called out. Now it goes on to say, what's next? Biden heads to Warsaw, Poland on Friday for a meeting with President Andrzej Duda and a possible meeting with Ukraine refugees. The two leaders are likely to discuss how allies are responding to the humanitarian crisis sparked by the war. The White House did not respond to questions about whether Biden would interact with refugees in Europe. Biden hinted at the news conference Thursday that such a meeting would take place. I plan on attempting to see those folks as well as I hope I'm going to be able to see. I'm not supposed to say where I'm going. And it goes on to say Biden said, but anyway, I hope I get the chance to see those people. Speaking of the refugees. Now, that was all I wanted from this article. Hey, but Yahweh Shem Yahweh Barakatah to all the brothers and the sisters that's getting on, all the Akim and Akwafim who are tuning in and will watch this lesson. We just going to touch on a little bit of prophecy, and continue on all through the Spirit of the Lord. Now, I'm going to start in the book of Revelation, the 17th chapter. So Revelation, the 17th chapter. And I'm going to go to the top of this chapter and just read a few verses. Right? So all that was brought out was being brought out just to nail these points home, this is from the Euro News, the beast system, which is prophecy that, the beast, the EU and America, it was said by Biden, has never been more united. Now, let's go ahead and read what prophecy says is about to happen. You see here it says the doom of Babylon. The doom, the destruction of Babylon is what's coming. The times that we are in. Revelation 17:1. And it reads, and there came one of the seven angels which had the seven vials and talked with me, saying unto me, which seven means completion, right? The completion will come when Babylon is destroyed. Seven angels with the seven vials. It says, and talk with me, saying unto me, come hither, and I will show unto thee the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters. And who is that great whore? Babylon the Great. Babylon the Great, which is America in prophecy. You know, so the judgment is coming to the great whore. The scriptures speak about the people that the Lord's cursed to judgment. We read Isaiah the 34th chapter and Isaiah the 63rd chapter. So the whore, the great whore, is the one that sitteth upon many waters, which is upon the nations, which is America. America has, you know, hundreds. The last count I heard was close to 800 military bases, installations, consulates, you know, and embassies, far more than any other nation, all across the world, pretty much in just about every established nation on the earth, right? It says, but the great judgment of the whore is coming upon the whore that sits upon many waters, which is America. So now verse 2, Revelation 17:2, with whom the kings of the earth, which are the nations, the rulers of these nations that you saw the EU up there and all these other nations. So these are the kings of the earth, with whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication. They've had to do business and take on the policies and practices of America. Part of that fornication also goes into taking on, you know, their system of governance or accepting it, right? Democracy, feminism, you know, all of these sorts of things. Going into taking on their trade deals, basically being in bed with the whore. They're fornicating. It says, and the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication, right? Once again, with the practices of America. It's intoxicated the world. Everybody's become drunken by the philosophies of America, by the wine. Verse 3, it says, so he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet-colored beast, full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns. So who is this woman? Once again, this woman is America. It's Babylon the Great, right? So it says, you know, a woman. Let me get it here in my sword. Back in Revelation 17. Let me read that line again. Revelation 17 and Revelation 17 and verse 4 again. Or verse 3. Revelation 17 and 3, it says, so he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet-colored beast, full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns. And we see, you know, this woman, which is Babylon the Great, right here in the middle. This is the woman. And it says, and she sat upon the scarlet-colored beast. And the beast is the system of governance, once again, which is the rule of the Edomites, the 7 great nations that establish the Edomites' power seat on the earth, right? This is what has given the Edomites the hegemony and preeminence and dominance over the earth, which goes into their military industrial complex, right? Their militaries, the NATO, you know, supporting that. And then also the IMF, the International Military or International Monetary Fund, which is their actual you know, financial backing, who controls, you know, the money systems of the world through the IMF, right? And then you also have you know, the push of the religious front, which is all a part of the system, the Roman Catholic Church through the Christian Church. So these seven heads you see here, you know, Germania Major, Rome, well, really it would be the Greeks before, then the Romans, Germania Major, the French, the Spanish. These are the nations that have ruled to set up the power seat. Germania Minor, the British, right? And then that, which is the 7th, and the 8th is America that comes out of the 7th. When you read in Revelation 17 and verse verse number 11. But now we want to focus on is verse 3 again. It says, "So he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman, which is America, Babylon the Great, sit upon a scarlet colored beast, red. Scarlet is red, speaking of Babylon, right? Full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns. And them 10 horns are known as the 10 common markets, which was the establishment of the beast system, which initially it was 10 nations. And we're gonna get into more of who those nations are today. Now, when you look up those 10 nations, or the 10 horns, which is the EEC, which was established in 1958, the European Economic Community, it goes into Belgium, and it's right here: Denmark, France, Italy, Luxembourg, the Netherlands, Greece, Ireland, England, and West Germany. That was initially, the upon the establishment of the beast system. Those were the horns on the beast system, right? Which has supported this whole system of governance. Now, it goes on further to say, speaking names of blasphemy. And once again, what is all the blasphemy that's being spoken? Going into the blasphemy and which is the philosophies: democracy, idolatry, homosexuality, the ways of the world, lies, adultery, covetousness. That's what's all being pushed by Babylon, which is the ways of wickedness. Those are the philosophies, right? And the blasphemy. So now, these were the initial, once again, nations, the 10 horns that made up, the beast system, along with the 7 heads, which were these ruling nations that established the power seat. Now let's go further, into more of this. Hey, Shalom, to all you Akim and Akwa. Okay, it's right here. Now, this says, what is NATO? What is NATO? Just going a little bit in prophecy today. Now, what is NATO? Now, it's short for North Atlantic Treaty Organization, right? But it started as 10 nations, the 10 horns, right, that support the beast. But let's look at it now. It says member countries. Now, these are also known as subordinate states. Nations that are have lesser importance but support the main nations, which is, the upper echelon country, so to speak, in Europe. America being the head of all the countries, of all, the NATO members. But then after that, what? You have also the United Kingdom, the UK, right? So you have the United Kingdom, which is another big part of NATO. You have the Germans, the French, the Spanish. A lot of these nations are the major members of NATO, but you also have the subordinate states. So these are the subordinate states. It started with 10, which was the European Economic Community in 1958. Now look at how much it's grown. It says the most important members or players in the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, the member countries themselves. These are known as subordinate states or vassal states when you look it up. These are all the nations alphabetically. It started off as 10, and now you see that number is at 30, right? Which is why NATO is so powerful. And the beast system, headed by Babylon, headed by America. Albania joined in 2009. Belgium was back in 1949. Bulgaria in 2004. Canada, 1949. Croatia, the Czech Republic in 1999. Denmark in 1949. Estonia, 2004. And those are some of the Eastern European countries, which were at one time under the rule, of Russia, which one of the reasons why Russia has invaded, first Crimea years ago in 2014, and now coming through the rest of Ukraine, right? Because a lot of these nations in Eastern Europe were part of the USSR. Now it goes on to say the Czech Republic in 1999, which I've been there, is on the border of Germany, right? Denmark in 1949, Estonia 2004, France in 1949, Germany in 1955, Greece in 1952, Hungary in 1999. It's going back to the time where a guy named Slobodan Milosevic, when you go into history, was trying to systematically, you know, destroy. You had you had Poland and Hungary and a few other nations in that Balkan region that was fighting because of Milosevic. You know, Kosovo was was in that mix as well, and this was in the early '90s when they joined NATO. And one of the things Putin is against, and why the fighting has ensued, is that America has been hinting and pushing toward making Ukraine a member of what we know as the beast system, right? Which is these 30 nations. And Putin is like, no, that's not going to happen because, Babylon's going to set up weapons right there on the doorsteps of Russia. See, it's all strategic. It's all, you know, military planning and war planning and strategy, right? How to get the upper hand, which ultimately the Lord's going to push these nations to firing those nukes. We're getting closer and closer. Now it goes on. In 1949, Iceland, Italy in 49, Latvia, another Eastern European country. In 2004, Lithuania in 2004, Luxembourg, Montenegro in 2017, the Netherlands. Now you see this, and you see some of these dates. 2017, that was recent. You see these nations joining on to the beast system, right? Which is why we'll read here in a second. Matter of fact, I'll go ahead and read it. Why it says, when you read in Revelation the 13th chapter, it says, "Who is like unto the beast?" Which I'll get it. Now this is Revelation 13. Going to the point, Revelation 13, and I'll read at verse 4. They worship the dragon, which gave power unto the beast, and they worship the beast, saying, "Who is like unto the beast? Who is able to make war with him?" So that's Esau's system. They've been given power. Let me read it again. This is Revelation 13, making reference to this. Revelation 13 and verse 4. It says, "And they worship the dragon." That's the system, going back to this Rome, first Greece pushing that, and then Rome starting that power seat. But this is the Edomite system, right? It says that they worship the dragon, going back to the Edomites having supremacy on the earth, and then leading to that system. It says, which gave power unto the beast, right? So that old system called the devil, right? The dragon, that system that was created, it morphed into the beast system, which the dragon and the beast in essence are the same thing. And that beast system is what we have today, which is NATO and the EU. It says, and they worship the beast, saying, and how do they worship the beast? They fall in line. These nations that are coming online with this system, right? That's how they worship. They fall in line with the orders of America and the European Union, NATO, right? The EU, right? The United Nations. So now it goes on to say, and who is able to make war with him? Who is able to stand against this power, this immense power? Because look at these nations. Some nations have joined as early as 2017. Within the last 5 years, some nations are constantly joining. Look at Macedonia, Northern Macedonia, 2020. This was just 2 years ago. To look at these nations as joining continually. Norway, 1949, Poland, 1999. So Poland is a key area now, which is very close to Ukraine, and a lot of the refugees from Ukraine are going into Poland. So when you look at that 1999, Poland is still fairly a new member as well, but they're protected by the system. This is Portugal, 1949, Romania, 2004, Slovakia, 2004, Slovenia, 2004, Spain was in 82, Turkey in 1952, and then it says United Kingdom, 1949, which is the UK, which is Britain, right? Who've exited. The Brexit happened just a few years ago, but they're still a major part of the EU, and then the United States. Now, why is all of this important? Let's see if I got any more down here. It says it has a political and a military alliance, right? Political and military alliance. Now, they sit down and discuss and consult one another, That's the crafty counsel, right? And then here it is, showing you the key events and times and counsels that they've had to remain strong. Now, when you go back to Revelation 13, before we get back, and I get this next precept, going into how prophecy shows the beast system that's falling apart, that's about to fall apart here very soon. Thus saith the Lord Yahweh Shem Yahushua. Now, you go back to Revelation 13, and let's go down to the point. It says, who was able to make war with him? It said in Revelation 13:4, like meaning who can stand against this system, as powerful as it is. Let's go from Revelation 13:4 down to, just to hit the point, verse 7. It says, and it was given unto him to make war with the saints and to overcome them, and power was given over him over all kindreds and nations, tongues and nations. Verse 8, and all they that dwell upon the earth shall worship him. Who? Esau, Edom, the beast system, Babylon the Great in America, whose names are not written in the book of life of the Lamb, slain from the foundation of the world. So all the people of the earth are going to worship me and fall in line with this system, because they weren't, they weren't the elected ones, the Bakarim, right? So the ones whose names are written in the book of life are not gonna worship the beast, which is take his image, take on his image, which is ultimately take the CHIP, take the charagma. Now, what's important about that is, let's go back a little bit. There's a lot in this chapter, and I just want to touch on a few things before we go back to Revelation, the 17th chapter. Just see. When you go to Revelation 13:1, it says, and I stood upon the sand of the sea. It's Apostle John on the island of Patmos. And I saw a beast rise up out of the sea, which we showed that beast right here. Right? This is the beast that the Apostle John saw on the island of Patmos. And I saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, which we explained that. And upon his horns, 10 crowns. And upon his head, the name of blasphemy, which is the push, of all wickedness by this system. Once again, through the military industrial complex, the IMF, the military being the power, the fighting forces within NATO, the EU, America, the European Union, right? And loosely affiliated with the UN. And then also what? That goes further, into also into the the spiritual side, so-called, right? The false prophet, that wrought miracles, which is the Roman Catholic Church, down to its strongest arm, which is Christianity. All of this is a part of the beast, because the Vatican is in Rome, right? Which is in the belly of the beast. So now, when you continue on, I was just touching on a few things, and I want to get all of it and go through it, but that pretty much hits the points, because verse 4 says, who is like the beast? Who can make war with him? Who can stand against him? Which is why you see Russia, coming up against the beast, China coming up against the beast, North Korea coming up against the beast. Now, once again, India allying and partnering together to come against the beast system, So now, when ultimately this beast is going to be destroyed, when you read throughout the scriptures. So let's go back to Revelation 17 and read verse 3 again. It says, so he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon, which is America, sit upon a scarlet-covered beast, full of the names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns. And the woman was arrayed in purple, which is royalty. America, Babylon the Great, is a nation that is, the Lord said, a golden cup in the hand of the Lord. This is that golden cup. So to the world, America is the gold standard. It's the standard of all nations, right? Lady Liberty, the land, the melting pot, the great melting pot of the world. And the woman was arrayed in purple, which is royalty, and scarlet color, right? And decked with gold and precious stones and pearls. That's this land, the land of freedom and opportunity, the wealthiest nation on the planet, right? Having a golden cup in her hand, full of abominations, filthiness, and the filthiness of her fornication. which all of it is wicked. Verse 5, and upon her forehead was a name written, mystery. Now it says mystery here because this was not known in these times, right? What we know now and what we can go into today, the Lord said in the last days, this will be known, right? Knowledge would increase to and fro in the last days. So now we know who this is through prophecy. But this was labeled and spoken of as mystery back in Revelation 17:5. And upon her forehead was a name written, Mystery Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth. So America is a cesspool of wickedness and the mother of all wickedness, all forms of harlotry, spiritual and literal fornication and wickedness, perversion and sin ultimately. They even have a sin city in America, which is Las Vegas, showing you how it all lines up. That this is the land of great sin, Babylon the Great. And I saw the woman drunken with the blood of the saints, this was Esau who, in the time we've been here, been killing all the saints, which are the Israelites, and with the blood of the martyrs of Yahushua, those that's going to die for the faith and those that have died for the faith. And when I saw her, I wondered with great admiration, right? Who is this? So the Apostle John didn't have all the understanding of what he was seeing, right? Now, it goes on to say, and the angel said unto me, wherefore didst thou marvel? Why did you marvel? I will tell thee the mystery of the woman and of the beast that carrieth her, which is the NATO, the EU, which have 7 heads and 10 horns, which we keep showing that, that meme that breaks it down perfectly, which is a system of governance. The beast that thou sawest, it says, was and is not and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit, which is Europe, and go into perdition, which is destruction. And they that dwell on the earth shall wonder, whose names were not written in the book of life from the foundation of the world, when they behold the beast that was and is not and yet is. So a lot of people are in that state now, wondering. And that wondering goes into them really submitting to the beast and his system, right? They don't have the understanding to be able to go into these scriptures and be able to be fortified in the spirit. They don't have, the ability to pull on the full armor because it was not given unto them. So now it goes on to say, Revelation 17:9, and here's the mind which have wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman sitteth. Mountains are symbolic to governments and nations on the earth, right? She sit on top of those mountains. The woman does because she's the head of it, Babylon the Great America. Now, let me get to the point. Let's see. Now let's show what's coming to Babylon. This is Revelation 17:4. It says, victory for the Lamb. These shall make war with the Lamb, this system, and the other nations, and shall overcome them. It says, for the Lord, for he is the Lord of lords and kings of kings, speaking of Yahushua, and they that are with him are called the chosen and faithful. Continuing on, in that chosen and faithful, you have the mighty ones, which are the angels, and chosen and faithful are the believers, right? They've been chosen and they're going to remain to the end because it's spoken about how their names are written in the book of life. Revelation 17:15, and he saith unto them, the waters which thou sawest, where the whore sitteth, are peoples and multitudes and nations and tongues, right? These are the peoples of the earth where Babylon ruled. Those consulates, those military installations, those embassies, right? It says, and the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. So they're going to destroy, ultimately, the beast is going to destroy the whore, Babylon the Great, who's controlling the system. Let's read that again. So now you got Revelation 17:16, and the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked. What's going to make Babylon desolate and naked? The great whore. Those ICBMs are going to be shot on America by the beast system, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire, which is the point. The point was getting into the fact of showing that this system is going to turn on Babylon, right? the one that's controlling everything as of yet. They're going to burn her with fire. They're going to shoot the missiles on Babylon, right? For the Most High put in their hearts to fulfill his will. See, it's the will of the Most High, and to agree and give their kingdom unto the beast until the words of the Most High shall be fulfilled. So all this is going to be done in order to fulfill the words of the Lord, which it tells you that in Habakkuk, right? So this is all, it says, though it tarry in Habakkuk. It also tells you that, you know, when you read Habakkuk, the 3rd chapter, that ultimately, though it tarry, wait for it, it will not tarry, it will surely come. For at the end, it will speak and not lie. And that's alluding to the fact that this has been given over for a time to fulfill prophecy. As it says in 2 Thessalonians, the 2nd chapter, it tells you in that chapter that it says, only he who now letteth will let until he be taken out of the way. The Most High is allowing prophecy to be fulfilled. So let's read that again. Revelation 17:17, for the Most High put in their hearts to fulfill his will, which is Proverbs 21:1. The king's heart is in the hands of the Lord. The Lord has put in their hearts to fulfill prophecy, right? And to agree and to give their kingdom unto the beast, until the words of the Most High shall be fulfilled, until the fulfillment, until Revelation, the 7th chapter, until the elect are sealed in their foreheads, right? That number that the Lord longest for, start with 144,000. And the woman which thou sawest is that great city, right? And that great city is Babylon the Great, which reigneth over the kings of the earth. That's why she sits on top of the beast. She sits on top of the beast because she reigns over all the kings of the earth. Because it said in Revelation 13, who was able to make war with her? Speaking of the beast, with America being on top of her, the beast. And that's just symbolic to America controlling, you know, that system. America controls that beast system, which reigneth over the kings of the earth. Now let's show that further. That's why another example is America can sanction any nation on the planet, but no nation can sanction America. Showing you that she sits on top of the beast. She controls the beast system. So now let's get to the point here too as well. This is 2nd Ezra, the 12th chapter and the 3rd verse. And it reads, and I saw and behold, they appeared no more. The whole body of the eagle, it says the whole body of the eagle was burnt. The eagle is what? Esau's system. Now let's prove that the eagle is Esau's system, right? That's the symbol used by Esau. The eagle is symbolic to Esau. That's been used by many Edomite nations. It's Obadiah 1:1. This is the vision of Obadiah. Thus saith the Lord Yahweh concerning Edom, the Edomites. We have heard a rumor from the Lord Yahweh, an ambassador sit among the heathen. Arise ye and let us go up. Let us rise up against her in battle. It says, behold, I have made thee small among the heathen. Thou art greatly despised. Starting with the Amalekites, they are greatly despised. You Edomites are greatly despised. The nations are turning against you. Verse 3, the pride of thy heart hath deceived thee, thou that dwellest in the clefts of the rock. Right, when you look at rock in this verse, if I'm not mistaken, it goes back to Petra, showing you that this is speaking of the Edomites, whose habitation is high. They build, you know, those skyscrapers high all over the earth, those columns that you see, and going back to Petra, ancient Rome, and then today in America, the Capitol building, the White House, that saith in his heart, this is what the Edomites say in their spirit, who shall bring me down to the ground? They believe that their rule is never going to end. Verse 5. Or verse 4, Salakia. So Obadiah 1:4. Though thou exalt thyself as the eagle, and though thou set thy nest among the stars, as I'm going into space, this will I bring thee down, saith the Lord Yahweh. So they exalt themselves as the eagle. That's a symbol of America. They've been exalted as the eagle. So now let's go back to the scripture going into that, right? We left off at Revelation 17:18, and the woman which thou sawest is that great city which reigneth over the kings of the earth. That's that woman, which is that eagle, which is Babylon the Great, right? So Babylon is that eagle, right? This is the symbolism that's in the Holy Scriptures. So now, let's go back to where we was at actually here. Speaking of Babylon being that eagle, Esau being that eagle, Obadiah 1 and 4. Here's where we read. 2nd Ezra 12 and 3. And I saw and behold, they appeared no more. The whole body of the eagle was burnt. This is going to be the destruction of Babylon and this system, because Babylon's going to fire on other nations as well. So the whole body of the eagle is going to be burnt, starting with Babylon, meaning destroyed, as we read in Revelation 17. Let's pick back up there again. Revelation 17 and 16, the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh, and burn her with fire. Destroy. Babylon's going to be destroyed. Eat her flesh is speaking of destroying Babylon, right? Burn her with fire. So that lines back up again with 2nd Ezra 12 and 3. And I saw and behold, they appeared no more. The whole body of the eagle was burnt, so that the earth was in great fear. That's what you read in Revelation 18 chapter. The earth was in great fear when seeing the fall of Babylon. Then awakened I out of trouble and trance of mind, and from great fear, and said unto my spirit, right? So that great fear is what the prophet Ezra, saw. The prophet Ezra is what he saw, great fear from the destruction that was coming upon the earth. Hey, Shalom, Yahweh Shem Shah Brakatah. And that's right, great precept, brother, Kazak by Yahweh. Job 14 and 5, seeing that his days are determined, the number of his months are with thee. Right, the Lord knows the actual time when he's going to be destroyed. Thou hast appointed his bounds that he cannot pass. He got limitations. There's limits to what this devil could do. Although he looked like he's a no-limit soldier, right? He looked like nobody can stop him. He could just march through and do whatever he wants to. He has bounds that he cannot pass. Somebody he want to go and set up a colony on Mars, and around the year 2033, he has limits. He can't do all the things that he's imagined in his heart, right? Going on, Proverbs 11 and 21, though hand be joined in hand, the wicked shall not be unpunished, but the seed of the righteous shall be delivered. The elect are going to be delivered no matter what happens, right? Their names are written in the book of life. That's the promise of the Most High. So we pray, and hope that the Lord finds our works, and our faith sufficient for salvation, because the elect, are going to be saved, right? So now, continuing on, the whole body of the eagle, the scriptures say, is going to be burnt. I don't think I got too much more I wanted to get into. Let's see if we got any more precepts on here. Brother brought out a few precepts. He's primarily just keeping it on prophecy, touching on a little bit of prophecy today. So I think I got all of what I wanted, all through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Rashad, Lord willing. This lesson was edifying through the spirit of the Lord. I just wanted to bring out a quick meal. I'm probably most likely going to go out and bring a lesson out today. Lord willing, brothers can catch me in the next hour and a half, within the next 45 minutes, hour. We'll see if the spirit is willing. I'll go ahead and go out. Lord willing, I'll bring out a lesson through the spirit. I'm just going to go in the spirit to see where the spirit take me between here and going out, Eighth of water, brother, Kazak by Yahweh to you, Akim and Akwathium. Lord willing is edified through the spirit of the Lord. Everything is done through the spirit of Yahweh Shem Bashar. So Lord willing, the lesson and anything is brought out, by myself or any brothers is edifying, and that is motivating in the spirit for brothers to go and push as well. Shalom to the brother GMS. I saw a chariot 144. Shalom to you brothers and to you sisters. I close it out by saying Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai, Barakatah Yahweh, by Hashem Yahweh Shai, by Hashem Rakakwadash. Double honor, as always, them God to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone, the true teachers of Israel today. Peace, love, blessings, and salutations to the hopeful elect. Habayah Madawadah, the house of David, the brothers laboring day in and day out to make their calling of election sure. Keep pushing to the house of David, to the brothers of believers, and to the Akim and Akwaf who listen and believe on the gospel of Yahweh Shem Yahushua being proclaimed on the four corners of the earth day in and day out. Continue to listen and believe and grow and be rooted in the faith. For the return of our Lord and Mashiach Yahushua is at hand, and the destruction of Babylon is at hand as well. So unto you, I say shalom. Shalom to the hopeful elect.